The workshop smelled of copper and sawdust, heavy with the scent of sweat and nerves. I could still hear Harris's words from yesterday echoing in my head. If you are lazy with green wires and clamps, every other lesson dies with them. That was the last trial, the battle against stray current. Today, a new trial waited for us, the mysterious art of splicing and terminations. I stood before a cluttered workbench. A half-open junction box sat there like a puzzle box from another world, wires spilling out in tangled coils. Red, black, white, and bare copper, twisted like restless serpents. My palms were slick with sweat. Harris walked in, his boots striking the floor like a gavel calling court to order. He carried only a wire stripper in his hand, but in his grip it looked more like a sword of judgment. Harris, splicing and terminations may look simple, but do them wrong and you invite fire, failure, and disgrace. Splice is not just about joining wires. It is about safety, durability, and code compliance. His voice struck the room like thunder. No one dared laugh. I swallowed hard, staring at the wires. They looked harmless, but his words made them feel like vipers ready to strike. John, I've seen workers twist wires together and wrap them with electrical tape. That's what I saw back when I was just helping on side jobs. Is that allowed? Harris's eyes narrowed. Harris, absolutely not. That is outdated and dangerous. The NEC does not allow such shortcuts. We use proper connectors, wire nuts, pushing connectors, or crimps. Anything less is gambling with fire. Maria, standing to my right, raised her hand. Maria, how much insulation do we strip before we splice? Harris, about ½ an inch. It's too short and the connector will not grip. Too long and bare copper sticks out. That is not just sloppy, it is a safety hazard waiting to strike. Kevin, bold as ever, stepped up to try. He stripped a wire, but nicked the strands. Harris's voice cut through the room. Harris, stop. That wire is now weak. Damaged conductors generate heat under load. Nicked strands are not just cosmetic flaws. They're failure points. Remember this. Every strand carries current. Break one, and the others suffer. He tossed the ruined piece into the trash. The sound was final, like a bell tolling for the dead. Harris then laid out a series of connectors on the table. Wire nuts in bright colors, push-in connectors that clicked like tiny traps, crimp sleeves of shining metal. Harris, each connector has a rating, gauge number of conductors, material compatibility. You do not cram 5 wires into a nut rated 4-3. And when connecting devices, you use pigtails. Maria tilted her head. Maria, why pigtails? Harris, because they reduce stress on the terminal lugs and make replacements easier. A device should not carry the burden of multiple splices. Pigtails give flexibility and safety. Motion to the junction box. Harris. And remember this, every splice belongs inside a junction box with a protective cover. Loose or exposed splices are direct fire hazards. The words struck me like an incantation. Splice inside the box, cover it, protect it. The foreman entered at that moment. His eyes scanned the workbench like a hawk hunting prey. Foreman, splice is outside the box. It's not just a mistake. It's a violation. A crime against safety. He pointed at me. Foreman, apprentice, answer me. What happens if you leave a splice hanging in the open? My mouth went dry, but I forced the answer out. John, loose or exposed splices lead to arcing, overheating, and fire. The foreman's face softened slightly. Foreman, good. Remember that answer, because someday your inspector will ask the same. Harris then set up the first round of tests. Harris, strip this conductor. ½ an inch? No more, no less. Clean, without nicking. I took the wire stripper, hands trembling. The steel jaws glinted under the light. Slowly, I squeezed, rotated, and pulled. The insulation slid off, leaving copper shining clean and whole. Harris tugged the wire. It held strong. He gave a single nod. Harris, correct. Now, what tool is used to strip insulation? John, wire stripper. Harris, good. And what happens if strands are nicked? John, the wire weakens. Heat builds under load. Fire risk. Harris. Excellent. Kevin stepped forward for his second attempt. This time he stripped too much insulation, leaving a long, naked section of copper. Harris's too much exposure leads to shock hazards. Bare copper is not courage, it is carelessness. Cut it again. Kevin's face burned red as he fixed his mistake. The class chuckled softly, but I didn't. I knew that could have been me. Harris pulled out a handful of aluminum wire. His eyes gleamed. Harris, this will be tomorrow's lesson. Aluminum is different. It oxidizes, builds resistance, and demands compound. But today, we master the basics. We spent the next hour practicing splices. Wire nuts twisted like little helmets over pairs of copper. Push-in connectors clicked as we pressed stranded wire inside. Crimps flattened under pliers, holding tight. Harris circled like a hawk, testing every joint with a tug. Maria's splice was neat. Wires twisted firmly before the cap. Harris tugged and it held. Harris, good. That is how you earn trust. Always test, always confirm. He stopped at my work. I had capped 2 wires with a nut, but hadn't twisted them tightly enough before capping. He pulled on, 1 wire slipped free. My stomach dropped. Harris, failure. You must twist firmly before capping. The nut is not magic. It cannot fix laziness. The foreman stepped forward again. Foreman, tomorrow we test torque. It's tight enough to hold, not enough to crush. Some of you will pass, some will not. If you fail, you go home. His words fell like a hammer. I clenched my fists. I had failed once already. I would not fail again. That night in my notebook, I wrote down the sacred rules. Strip cleanly, correct length, use proper connectors. Twist firmly before capping. Every splice must be boxed and covered. Loose connections are death. As I closed the notebook, I felt something new burning in my chest. Splicing was no longer just a technical skill. It was a trial, a test of worth. Each connection was a promise between electrician, inspector, and every family who would one day live under those wires. Tomorrow, aluminum and fire would test us further.